again. We know this is what we're meant to do. So we wake up, put our feet on the floor, go and conquer the day like a warrior, like warriors. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life. That's right, that's right. No need to panic anymore. We got lots of support and an army of warriors by our side. We fight the good fight when we unite. We fight the good fight when we unite. Cause that's what a tribe does. We got your back so you can relax and focus on all the important stuff, like getting your business done. This is our tribe. We look out for each other. That's right, that's right. This is our tribe. We help each other grow in business and life.
Hi, everybody. My name is Sondra Ray, and I am the host of the Coffee Chat Show with all these amazing gentlemen with me today. Of course, my voice is going to try to go out. So today's topic is diversity and inclusion in the workplace. And of course, we brought back the great Mr. Levy. So, Mr. Levy, do you want to give us well, I'm sure you already have something presented. So take it away while I find some water.
Thanks, Sondra. I'm humbled by your kind words. I really am. So I'm going to just share screen. And thank you for asking, because last week and this week's topics go hand in hand, and they're both very close to my heart in terms of what I believe. This one and last week's one, I suppose, could go on for hours. And then I was just giving some thought to, not what to say, how to condense it, or what not to say. So, yeah. And also being mindful. So whilst you do give me a lot of that credit and so on, I'm also extremely mindful of the other gentlemen in this room and lady and people on the outside who also have always amazing input to give. And I'm looking forward tonight to hearing input from everybody else as well, because this is not I don't even think it's a 1 hour topic to discuss, but a very significant one. So I think, when you asked me to kind of open tonight's coffee shop show with this really broad but certainly significant topic, I just decided I thought I'm going to go through my experiences that I've had over the years and just share my thoughts, and as I say, and then look forward to everybody else's. So you'll see on the side, I'm giving thought to diversity and inclusion, and what came up for me for diversity, which is actually the core of Dare to Be, is respecting differences. And this is certainly what people need to understand in the workplace. And I'll take it in the context of the workplace, because that was the topic that you gave for tonight. And then, inclusion, I was trying to find two words that, what comes up for me when I'm working or have the privilege of working with leaders and their teams, in business, and yes, I know the word empowerment is widely used, but I try to go a little bit underneath that and say what came up for me were two words: contribution and belonging. So if you take diversity in terms of respecting their differences, it encompasses such a wide range of characteristics and different attributes that make individuals unique. So, it's about, I think the first thing we often think of is cultural differences, ethnicity, race, could be gender, and things like those kind of things that we immediately associate with diversity. But if you look at us in just as human beings, in not only in the workplace, but for tonight's conversation, specifically in the workplace, we're all gifted with different talents. And it's those talents themselves make us diverse and unique in what we each contribute to the organization, to the world, to the team, whatever you want to look at it. And I think diversity is not just about recognizing and acknowledging those differences, but it's about valuing and how do we as a team understand each other, and how do leaders understand that, and then how do we leverage these differences to create a more inclusive and effective environment. So it was quite, as I was giving thought to that, I thought, wow, there you bring inclusivity through diversity. And, so imagine if, it's often I say to people, imagine if we were all the same. First of all, we wouldn't need each other, but it would be an absolute disaster, especially, but not only, when it comes to innovation. There would be absolutely no innovation if it was all the same. Can you imagine? Well, I don't even want to give the thought. Can you imagine having like 10 Stevens in a team? Goodness me. Sure, that would be a disaster. So, or 10, but 10 of any of us, it doesn't matter. And this is what we need to recognize and understand. What do we each contribute to the organization or the team or the community? But I'm going to leave the community out for tonight. And then inclusion in terms of contribution and belonging. It's also quite because it's about not just engaging individuals, it's engaging diverse individuals in the workplace. So you ensuring they can participate and contribute to the organization. So it's about active participation. And I think it goes beyond, the inclusion. It's not just I'm there to do a job. I think it goes beyond that kind of representation. And it really focuses on fostering or creating a sense of belonging and empowerment amongst all members of the organization, be it in different teams, and then also the cross-section of teams, because, if you look at silos, you can't operate in one side. You can't operate in silos. You might operate in different divisions, which are siloed, but they need to also speak to each other. And there's diversity in that as well. So I think the two words certainly go hand in hand with each other. And I think it'll be also extremely difficult for leaders who today want to develop and should be developing high-performing teams. It'll be difficult for them to develop these teams with only one or the other. You can't do it just with diversity and exclude inclusion, and vice versa. I think it's very important. They really do go hand in hand. So yeah, with the world moving at the pace that it is today, I think diversity and inclusion, they contribute to so many factors in the workplace. If you look at like different perspectives, so we get different views on what we're trying to achieve and how we're trying to achieve that. And you get it through a different lens of various people. I mean, it's just awesome. And that's probably where the innovation comes in. It also lends to quick decision-making and problem solving. And then as I spoke about high-performing teams, it's about enhancing team performance. And another important thing that I've noticed, working when leaders recognize the differences in people, and also not just the differences in people, but how their differences contribute to the team. It also contributes to talent retention. And that's something that's key. We can't afford to lose good talent, yet often by tolerating bad attitude, underperformance, that we do lose good talent. So, you know, I think that also falls under diversity. It's not only the good talented people, but we also got to look out for those people that are also diverse but not performing, and they bring a bit of toxicity into the workplace. So it's about talent retention. And I think if you have a strong culture of diversity and inclusion, and this gets known, it gets spoken about in the marketplace, it will also have an impact on talent attraction. I think they're both very important. So expanding, if I need to expand on last week, and about leadership's responsibility to those they lead, they hold a huge responsibility to creating a culture where every single member of the team feels valued, respected, and supported in addressing like any barriers that to active participation, which is that inclusion, in whichever role they occupy in the organization. So I think that has a big impact. And I'll just put this slide in because one of the foundations of high-performing teams, or the foundation of high-performing teams, is trust and open communication. And without that, there's going to be a big struggle to have intentional commitment that they talk about, to hold people accountable, to look at for collaboration. And then ultimately, I suppose, at the pinnacle is to achieve the outcomes that you're trying to achieve. But then that foundation of trust and communication, if you don't respect people in their differences, and you're not going to include them, you're not even going to get the foundation right. And that's important. So all of this that we're speaking about, and then I'm going to keep quiet, is, believe it or not, is it creates it really does. It creates a culture where people feel valued, respected, and supported. And we can't ignore diversity and inclusion. It will be at the peril of the company. And so leaders need to recognize the strength in differences, and not look at the problems and conflict that can arise in business, and I've seen it. But it's about it, that conflict often gets turned into a negative connotation or a negative environment, where actually conflict is good, and conflict is there because of our differences. It's just how we handle it, and we need to be open to it. We need to be open to people's views and different views. And I'm talking about strictly in business. Of course, we can have different political views. We can have different religious views. My own opinion is, I think it's a very dangerous topic to bring into the workplace. Not that we shouldn't talk about it, but I think it's if you're trying to build, we've got enough different views to discuss in the workplace, and in terms of achieving that which we need to. So yeah, I think there's many other aspects of diversity that one can speak about, but I'm sure Lesetja and Hendrick and Peter have got things to say. So I'd love to hear that. But yeah, too extremely, and thank you for the opportunity to chat about it, because they're really important to the overall success of any organization. It's about people.
I love that. I love that, Mr. Levy. Thank you so much. And like you said, it's about people treating people like people, human beings. Human beings are all human beings. We all have our good qualities and our shortfalls. So making sure that we can respect that. And like you said, respect different points of view. Do you feel trust has to be there from the get-go, or does it have to be built?
That's a great question. So for Stephen, I'll get people, I'll trust them until they break that trust. Because I think it's, especially when we don't, I think the trust gets built, but I won't not trust them. I will go into a relationship trusting the other person. I think the depth of that trust gets stronger as the relationship gets stronger, as you get to know each other. So a word that also comes up for me, certainly with diversity, is curiosity. We need to be more curious about each other. We need to have those conversations. And I think, you know, if I just think of one place as Explore ProTech is built off the back of that. You know, coffee first, business later. It's about relationships. And when you have them, that's when you'll build the trust. But I want to just say one thing in terms of what you asked, Sondra, is, yeah, so you have my trust. You will get more of it. And I hopefully yours, as the relationship gets stronger. But when we go into the relationship, I've often heard this word, oh, I don't trust them. They have to show me they trust them. So you're really starting with a mindset of not trusting someone. It's like kind of guilty until proven innocent. And I don't know why we do that. We should be innocent until proven guilty. But if you break my trust, then that's it. Then we're done. But I'm not going to find you guilty first.
I'm the exact same way. So yeah, I trust sometimes too much, but yeah, I want that initial trust there. For sure, for sure. Well, let's bring other people in on the conversation. Mr. Peter, how are you today? Or how are you tonight?
Oh, I'm actually doing really well. Tired, but tired is good when you're busy doing good things. So I'm actually glad we're having this conversation. We're currently dealing with a situation that actually falls right under this perfectly. But you know, I think in everybody's minds, regardless of gender, regardless of skin color, regardless of none of those things should be taken into consideration at all. Yeah, I think that we generally do ourselves a disservice when we are put into a space where we are told, oh, you have to create an inclusive space, a diverse space. And then what we as humans do is we look at that situation very surface level. We don't actually go into what does that actually mean. So you end up with spaces that will be like, oh, we have to be inclusive and diverse. We will just base it on skin color. And what they've done is they've just done their entire team and their entire space a disservice. It doesn't work that way. And if for a moment you could picture the Garden of Eden or Utopia, or like the best kind of space we could ever have in the world where humans could just coexist and get along, and we could imagine what that felt like and what that looked like, I'm pretty sure that nobody in that space would be rated according to their skin color or their gender. It just wouldn't come into play. It just wouldn't exist. So why do we utilize that as a scale of measurement to decide what's inclusive and what's not? I think we as humans need to go deeper. We need to go deeper than that. What does it actually mean? And I think this is where it becomes really important, because if you don't go deeper, you miss the opportunity. You miss the opportunity to build, create, be powerful in a space. You miss the opportunity to give others that opportunity. But if we were measuring people based on their character, got nothing to do with gender, got nothing to do with skin color, character. It's something that's extremely powerful. Who somebody is, what their beliefs are, how they see the world, how they behave because of how they see the world. And then we look at skills, their skill set. How do they manage to achieve what they achieve? How do they manage to have conversations with others? How do they manage to, if we were measuring diversity and inclusivity based on just those two things, we would build some of the most diverse, most inclusive, incredibly powerful, high-performing teams ever seen on this earth. But unfortunately, we as humans don't tend to look deep enough, and we look at this very surface level, and we create a space that's kind of watered down by the fact that people were not measured as to who they actually are. And this is where I think the rubber hits the road. This is where great leaders come into play, and this is where great managers come into play. This is where great people are born. People that break the mold and go, well, I'm going to be the first to start that trend. I'm going to be the first to create a space where it doesn't matter. I mean, the world at the moment, and it doesn't matter which country you're in. Like most of us are from South Africa. Sondra, oh, sorry, you're not. I mean, even just in our country, in South Africa, there's been a history of people being measured by their skin color. Can you imagine the kind of history we could have had if we didn't do that? Can you imagine where we would be now if we didn't do that? Can you imagine where we would be if we measured somebody based on their character and their skills? How much further we would be ahead? So basically we end up shooting ourselves in the foot because we just don't look at things properly. So I think it's important that we globally, and this happens globally. I think it can be a thing of beauty if we just change our mindsets, and we can build some incredible spaces. And I think I will stop there.
Thank you so much, Peter. Yes, mindset, that was mentioned in the comments in the live YouTube show about mindset. I'm going to let Mr. L go, and then we do have a question from the live show. Go ahead, Mr. L. Good evening.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Yeah, look, I'm one of those that would like to bring things, down to the very, very basics, so that people can understand what we are talking about. I think sometimes Peter can talk your head off if you don't listen properly and carefully. So Mr. Levy asked about, how we would define, diversity and inclusivity. I just want to explain it not in words, by saying to us, if you look at the 5 people that are here on Zoom now, and the 18 people that are on YouTube, we are all diverse, different shades of color, different countries of origin, different provinces. We are all different, and we bring in different skill sets. We all chat different. Well, we all talk differently. As I said, Peter can talk your head off. I'm very basic. Mr. Levy is very practical. Hendrick will bring in examples of what is to be there or what's to be done. So we are all diverse, okay? So for me, that is diversity. But when you bring in inclusivity in that, inclusivity is where you bring in all the different particles of diversities, if I can put it that way, bring them together and make it work. And Peter, I'm going to make an example about Explore ProTech. It's a global organization. It's a global networking space. And we are all different, but we make it work in what we do and in how we do things, because we agree on how to carry on, how to do things. And because we've got, and don't pat yourself on the shoulder, Peter, because you've got a great leader in Peter at Explore ProTech, we can then bring in that diversity into being and make it work to carry Explore ProTech forward, to be able to help students and all other entrepreneurs. For me, that's a definition of diversity and exclusivity. Thank you very much. This is Lesetja Mokou from Litmok, your business development agents.
Thank you, Mr. L. I'm going to ask this question, and then Hendrick, you're not off the hook. So the question from the YouTube show, forgive me, students, I don't like butchering names, so I don't say your names very often because I don't want to mispronounce. Goslin event was something, Peter. Struggle as a breakout room host. Anyways, I digress. The question is, how can one distinguish between genuinely understanding and embracing diversity in the workplace and allowing that, but not allow that understanding to be exploited by others for personal gain? Isn't that very funky? How can one distinguish between genuinely understanding and embracing diversity in the workplace and allowing that understanding to be exploited by others for personal gain? So how, like, I don't want to assume. Do you understand the question? Maybe I've understated it.
Yeah, just repeat it. How does one?
How can one distinguish between genuinely understanding and embracing diversity in the workplace and I think she means, and not allowing that understanding to be exploited by others for personal gain?
Yeah. I think it comes back to exactly the word understanding. And first of all, understanding and respecting diversity. So first of all, if you understand yourself in diversity and understanding that you are different, and there's something I wanted to really say, a lot of us, we are all, not a lot, all of us are gifted. If I come back to, I just want to expand on what Lesetja said, and I wrote down here, there's a big difference between talent and skills. We can all be skilled at something, but we don't have the same talent. We are very different in our talents. In fact, there's very few people that have the same talents, dominant talents, that others do. And I can give you a stat on it, but I just want to, in terms of answering your question, when you really understand yourself, you will also understand when somebody is actually using it, or respecting, not respecting, using your diversity for personal gain. So it's amazing how powerful self-awareness is. And when you anchor in that, and I'm talking about your understanding you in the way that you think, behave, the way that you feel, and also what anchors you, your values. If you start recognizing that, then our answer to that question is, when is it that you're going to draw the line and not allow them to do that to you? Their agenda might be is very different if that's what they are doing, using it for personal gain. They're on the wrong agenda, but you can't control that, especially if they're in a leadership position. But you can control what you stand for and what you recognize, but you won't recognize it if you don't understand what anchors you. So you could get pulled into it. And I know it's not easy because you can't always just leave the place of employment for various reasons. But I'm seeing a lot more. You can have your say in it. And I experienced that the other day. Sometimes people are afraid of it. You can have your say in it without it actually impacting your work. It's not easy, but there is a way to go through it. I don't think I've got time tonight to share that example, but that's why they also have HR departments. So it's very much dependent on leadership. But to ever ask that question, I'd say it's up to you. Don't allow it. And if it really gets bad, I'm afraid you have to start looking elsewhere.
Thank you. And Christopher asked, should there be policies in place to address discrimination? And you basically said, yes, there should be. And if you're creating your own business, it's on you to do that as a business owner. Or not to, because a lot of us are business owners. So that's a you thing. That's a leadership thing. That's you as a business owner thing. So thank you. Okay, Peter, you're gonna have to wait a second. Mr. Hendrick. I'd love to hear what you think about this topic.
Thank you, Sondra. Okay, first things first. I think I agree with what Mr. Steven just said now, because it's very important that in everything we do, you need to align yourself with what you do. You need to start or begin with the end in sight. For example, if you start a business and want to have 4 branches, you need to know what are you willing to sacrifice for you to get those. And aligning your goals with that means you being able to say, I'm willing to sacrifice 2 weekends in a month to achieve those. So if it comes at a higher price where you no longer have weekends available to yourself, you can always say no. So it's very important to always be true to yourself and align yourself and your goals with everything you need to do. And then secondly, with regards to our differences or diversity, it's very important to understand that first and foremost, we are all different. I'm not talking about our skin color. I'm not talking about the obvious things. We are different in the way we think, the way we engage on challenges we come across. We are different in everything we do. We've got over 20 people on YouTube with different business ideas and how they want to run their businesses. The moment you want to hire people with like-minded or who will always agree with what you are saying, then you are not hiring the right people in your company. You need to have different views, you need to have different opinions and build from that. You need to make it easy for people to challenge your decisions or to challenge your views, as long as it pushes or it puts the company in a clear direction and we know where we are going as a company. So we need to be clear from the onset and we need to keep doing self-introspections. So that's my opinion on today's topic. That's Hendrick from Teresano Earth Movers, your lifting and rigging specialist from Mpumalanga.
Thank you, Hendrick. I always love your insight. Peter, I'm going to hold you off for just 1 second. So a question came up. I'm trying to go back and forth and be fair. And Hendrick kind of answered this, but I want to hear Mr. Levy's perspective too, Stephen. What steps do we take to address feedback and continuously improve our diversity and inclusion practices? So how do we keep getting better?
Be open to feedback. But feedback must always be done with respect and dignity. If you can't give me feedback with respect and dignity, I don't want your feedback. And I'll tell you. In the middle of the feedback, I'll tell you. If you're going to do it disrespectfully, I'm not interested. But we need to be open to feedback, and we need to be open to giving and receiving feedback. And I think we must also be very mindful of who the feedback comes from, who we're getting feedback from.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also applying the feedback.
I think, yeah, Sondra, with feedback, think actually this morning, I spoke about it to a group of estate agents and said, feedback is the most powerful tool. I think I've said this before, for growth and development. If you're not open to feedback, it's a problem. Be open to it. You don't have to. If I ask everybody here, I need feedback on something, Lesetja can give his, Pete can give his, Hendrick will give his, you'll give yours. I need to shut up and listen to it. Otherwise, don't ask for feedback. But that doesn't mean I need to take everybody's feedback and apply it. I need to be I can filter it. But it's not for Lesetja, it's not Lesetja's responsibility to filter it. It's not Hendrick's, it's not Peter's, it's mine. I asked for it. So all I need to do is say thank you for the feedback and do what I want with it.
True. Very true. Very true. I love that. Filter it. But yes, be open to listening. 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason.
Yeah, well then, if you're not going to, then don't ask for it. If
Yeah,
I
it's a
can
waste
just
of
say something
time.
before Pete comes on, is, it's often you get people that give you feedback, or you ask for feedback, and as they give you feedback, you go, but, yes, but. And as soon as you say that, okay, then stop. Then
Yeah,
you don't
everything
deserve
after
the
but
feedback.
doesn't matter. Yep.
Yeah, because now you're asking for feedback, and then as soon as they're giving you, you're trying to justify why they shouldn't give it to you. So, as I say, rather just shut up and say thank you and don't use it. At least be respectful about it.
Very, very true. So very true. Mr. Peter, come on in.
I just want to highlight something that I think might go back to a question from earlier, but I think it'll be relative, is in order for me to build an inclusive and diverse space, you can't just build it. You have to build a safe space first. It's like many things. You have to build the foundation of something before you can actually build on that or create a space. You've got to have to build the foundation first. And in order to create a space where there is inclusivity and there is diversity, I had to build a safe space first, a space where people could arrive and feel safe and comfortable to just be themselves. They didn't have to change themselves. They didn't have to fit a particular mold. They don't have to perform at a particular level. They don't have to have a certain level of business. They can just arrive and be themselves. So, and I think if you're trying to practice diversity and inclusivity in a space that is not designed to, or doesn't have the foundation to actually run it, then you run the risk of it being an unsafe space for there to be inclusivity and diversity. That's when you start heading into trouble. That's when things are looked at surface level. That's where things are, and you run a huge risk in that space. And that's not a space that somebody feels comfortable just being themselves and being vulnerable, because being yourself is being vulnerable. Sometimes we feel as people, we need to fit into a particular mold to fit into a particular space. But then if we're given the opportunity to just be ourselves and we become vulnerable, but the space is not built for us to be vulnerable, then we run risks. So we have to be very careful in which spaces do we just allow ourselves to just kind of show off who we are. But if the space is built and designed around being safe for people to do that, then you can actually harness the power of the people around you. And I think that's something brilliant. And then just to hit on something that was mentioned in another question, I think, Stephen, I think you answered it really well. But if I ask somebody for their input or their feedback, and the moment they open their mouths, I'm offended. Because I find that I think that's the thing that people that struggle with the most. You build this space, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into this space. You spend months working on the messaging in regards to this space. You spend ages building the right relationships to build this business out, and then you ask somebody for feedback, and they're like, "Nah, I don't think that this." And because it's your baby, it's the thing that you've been building, and somebody is throwing these harsh words at your baby, you go into protective mode, and the way you protect it is by getting offended. Stop it. Just stop it. Because if you're asking for feedback, the feedback might not be something that you want to hear, but it might be a truth that takes what you've built to the next level. And whether you take that truth or whether you don't take that truth, the only way you're going to know is if you don't get offended and you listen to what's being said. So that just that moment in time where the hairs on the back of your neck stand up and you go into that shackle protective mode, catch yourself, slap yourself on the hand, and just stop it. I have been offended many, many times. I have been offended many times by the people in this space. It happens. And then I listened to the feedback and I was like, oh, well, actually, they're kind of right. Oops. Well, now I can change and now I can build, now I can grow. Or I can go, actually, you know what? I don't think they're right. I don't think it's relative to me, but I appreciate the feedback. Your choice. I'll leave it there.
I love that. I love that. It's not easy. Like, honestly, yes, I'm very passionate about my business, and I have 5 kids, so I'm very protective of them, and it's been interesting because my eldest husband does not have a mother figure, and so I was his mother figure from the moment they met until now. And people chuckle because I'll be like, there's times I'll take his side over my biological daughter's side. She's wrong. If she's wrong, she's wrong. And and everybody's like, but your kid. I'm like, yeah, what is your point? A kid can, an adult, as they're growing and learning, they're going to be wrong. And I can be wrong as a mother too, but it's still to this day a very interesting relationship because I usually get both sides of the story, their sides of the story, and then, the truth somewhere in the middle. But yeah, it's hard when you're talking about something you put, I just started year 5, like blood, sweat, tears, all the things, and, catching a lot of things that, definitely I could have done different sooner, still need to grow in certain areas too. So yeah, it's not easy, but yes, so well worth it. So well worth it, for sure, for sure. Applying those lessons a whole lot quicker will do better for you in the long run. Trust me, I very much know this one. Mr. Al, come on in.
All right, Peter, I just want to get onto your offense. I heard somebody saying, if somebody offends you, it's not that person offending you, the offense lives in you. You've got all these things that are offending you that when somebody says something, it erupts. So there's nobody that can offend you. If somebody says to me, I'm stupid, like, okay, maybe I need to check why this person is saying I'm stupid. So you can deal with it in different ways. But I think we've explained the meaning of diversity and inclusion. And the question is that important in an organization? And if the answer is yes, then the further question would be, why is it important? If the answer is no, then the question would be, why is it not important? Because, it's words that are there in an organization. So we've got policies, we've got guidelines in organizations, and people that are starting businesses have got their missions and visions. Those, for me, are the guidelines to make the organization work, to make the company work. Whatever you're starting, if you want to make it work, you've got to have guidelines. And if you're going to employ people, you need to know they are going to come with different skill sets. And I've got to build all these guidelines so that when they come in, we carry the company forward. And for me, diversity and inclusion are very, very important because they help to create a work environment in which people of all backgrounds, all skill sets, and everything else that's different can work together to take the company forward. And I'll end it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Al. Yeah, for sure. Come on in, Mr. Levy. We're gonna have to wrap up soon. Hour always goes flying by.
It beat. I'm not sure whose hand went up first. I don't mind if Peter goes. Okay. So there's just a couple of things. First of all, I wanted to say that there comes it. I want to comment on what Lesetja said now. So, is it why don't you have it, or why do you have it? We have, whether we like it or not, okay, it's been highlighted tonight, whether we like it or not, we have diversity. Whether we accept it or not is another thing. And again, I'm talking about how we think and behave. Every single one of us is different. So we have that, and it's the values and the vision and of the business that, can you imagine if we didn't have that? Because what is the glue that's going to hold this diverse unit together? If we do not have the same vision that we're all looking at, how we get there might be different. And as a team, that's what I was chatting about earlier, is that we need to use our diversity and leverage our differences to get to the same goal or the same vision. And then the values, we all here have different values. Even if our values are the same, we might interpret it differently. So that's our own DNA. And that's where the values, the DNA of the company, is what holds this diversity together. So South Africa is extremely diverse. And yes, we have our problems in a country like every other country has. Okay? But you know what the comments I hear from people outside of this country, that this country is fantastic, not in spite of, because of our diversity. Okay? People have used the words, there's soul in this country, there's warmth in. I'm not talking about the crap that you see on TV for 2 minutes. Excuse my language. Because that's a small thing that we see that they focus on. Because I walk around thinking, hold on, I haven't seen this. I know where it's happening, and I know it is happening. I don't live with blinkers on. But if I look at the broader picture, geez, this is magnificent. And I've had overseas visitors here that see exactly what I see through a different lens. So I think that's important. Coming back to the not having conflict, I think Hendrick alluded to that. It's because the biggest outcome of diversity and inclusion is innovation. So if we're not prepared to challenge each other, again, respectfully, if we're not prepared to challenge each other and there's no conflict, okay, we've got too many yes people in the organization, and our organization will then not grow and flourish and become innovative. But it's how it's delivered. So I must say, I'm not stupid. I might not be as clever as somebody else, but if someone tells me I'm not stupid, then I'm stupid, that's disrespectful. That's got nothing to do with my intelligence. I just turned around to someone and said to them, you're stupid. And if someone says that to me, I might not respond to them, but they lose my respect. So I hear in the context with which you're saying it, but yeah, that's disrespectful.
Thank you, Mr. Levy. Yeah, I think you can say that the thing you did is stupid. So the action you took
I've done a lot
might
of
be
those
stupid. Yeah, like we've all done stupid things. But that doesn't make you a stupid person.
One of
Definitely.
the things I got my master's at. Doing stupid things. But and just Pete, somebody was saying, how do you Pete was talking about the safe environment. Again, it comes off trust and open communication. It's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? But for me, it's actually about listening. Listening is the art of communication. It's about allowing people, like in Explore ProTech, people allow people to speak. If you're not going to do that in an organization, if you don't listen, you're going to surround yourself with people who don't speak.
Very, 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 very true.
That's how
Mr. Lee.
simple it is to create a safe environment. It's not that easy, but it's that simple. Just listen.
Very, very true. Yep. Very true. Very true. I was at a seminar on Wednesday about negotiation, and the biggest two things, my takeaway was have a curiosity and listen more than you speak. Listen open-minded before you speak. I can't wait to read the book, her book. But yeah, it was really, those were the first two things. They're like, this is how you negotiate fearlessly, is listening and having curiosity. It's not about confidence or if you're right or anything else. She's like, those are the two top things that she wanted us to take away. So I thought that was really good and amazing. All right, Peter, we got to wrap up.
Awesome. I'm going to say one thing before I head into a little bit of that wrap up is, if you are a leader and you are micromanaging your team, they can be as inclusive and as diverse as you want them to be. They're not doing anything because you're taking away their power. So if you want to experience the power of diversity and inclusivity, then stop micromanaging and watch the magic happen when you allow people to perform based on who they are and what skills they actually have. Sit back in amazement and just get to figure out who they are and why they do what they do. I know it's the most difficult thing to do, to stop micromanaging. Oh my goodness me, that is difficult. But it can be done. To the igniters that are out there, yes, last week I forgot to give you a code, so much so that I got double the views because you guys watched the show all over again just to see where the code word was. So thank you for the views. I appreciate it. You guys are absolutely brilliant. I might hide the word again in future just so that you watch the show twice, but I won't do that to you. So the code word for today would be #time-to-shine. So what you can do is you can send some of all the code word. You do have her contact details. You can send her a little message of something that you've learned from this show. And what you can do is you can share, or maybe do it in the other option. Share, write a message of what you learned and send the code word to Somerville #time-to-shine. Igniters, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Within the Mancosa space, really powerful space. And if we're talking about diversity and inclusivity, that definitely would be one of them. So my hat off to that space. And Sondra, back over to you.
Okay. So we want to definitely make sure we say thank you to Mr. Levy for coming again today, and being an expert. We are super grateful for that because, we have that in our community. We have experts on topics and we want to make sure we tap into that, which also gives diverse opinions. So for sure, we want to thank Susan. She does a lot of things in the background, from the cover for YouTube. She puts the show notes. If you ever want to reach out to any of us, our LinkedIn profiles links are in the show notes. So if you want a coffee chat with me or anybody else on the screen, please reach out. I love having coffee chats and getting to know people. That is definitely something I enjoy. And then Miss Somerville, she's helps with numerous things too on social media and so on and so forth. Don't forget, we do turn this into a podcast on Spotify. We need to flip that. Maybe we'll have one time where they share Spotify versus YouTube, but we'll have to work that out. So like us on Spotify, follow us, and of course share our content, and you can give us a rating on Spotify too after you listen to a couple of episodes. You can always put us on 1.5 or what, listening to speed us up, but you have to listen to a couple before you can do a rating. So my name is Sondra. I am your goal accountability connoisseur, and I help you take action on your goals so you can get results in a timely manner, so you can get it done. Mr. Peter, do you want to give us our sign off?
Awesome. So in the famous words of our esteemed Berta, may all your wildest entrepreneurial dreams come true. We'll see you